I hate you. Hello, welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and that's Justin. Jesus Christ.
Well, that was a movie.
Today we're giving our first thoughts on Conclave, which was directed by Edward Berger, who's probably at this point best known for his remake of On the Something Front. Hold on, I wanted to say On the Waterfront. That's not it.
I actually thought that's what you meant.
All Quiet on the Western Front. There it is.
Okay.
Starring Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, and John Lithgow. And if you haven't seen the trailers or anything, you don't know what it's about. It's about picking the new Pope. That's what the conclave is all the cardinals and everybody get together and they vote until they can pick a new Pope. The last Pope died, now we need a new one. And it's kind of like a sort of political thriller because there's a lot of intrigue, there's a lot of backstabbing, there's a lot of stuff going on, both, political stuff, political discussion, and religious discussion, a lot of stuff like that. And I didn't see it last week, it just wasn't convenient to get to, and then I kind of honestly was like, I don't know if I'm going to get to it all, but luckily, we surprisingly decided we were going to watch it today, kind of last second.
Of course.
Things fell into place, and man, I'm glad I watched it. I had such a good time. How about you?
I mean, movie of the year of some sort?
It might be.
One of the movies of this year.
Yeah, so I mean, All Quiet on the Western Front, it won at least one Oscar, I think. It was nominated for a bunch of Oscars, and I forget which ones other than score. It had a great score. So did this. But just watching this, I was just amazed constantly. If I had to pick, just a couple words to describe this movie, it was, deliberate or, conscious. Every decision was intentional, it felt like, and it's of course, yeah, but on an Oscar level where it's okay, the lighting intentional, the sound design intentional, the scoring, the acting, the shot composition, what is and isn't in focus. I was holy shit. What a well-made movie. Really well-made movie.
Very well shot. I definitely want to see some of the scenes again, just to see some of the framing, especially very nice shot to see them all walking outside in the rain with the umbrellas.
Yeah, the umbrella shot was really cool.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Sound design too, though. They were constantly, so Ralph Fiennes is the main character, and it's constantly the camera work is very in his face, and the sound design of it was you're constantly just overwhelmed by the sound of his breathing, because it's he's very in his own head the whole time, so the breathing is kind of setting the tone. And then in certain scenes, there's always just a humming in the background of something, there's this computer, there's that thing going on, and there was just so much going on in this movie that was so damn good and so entertaining, and a great cast too, by the way. I love Ralph Fiennes. I've called him Ralph Fiennes for years. Either way you want to call him, he's great and I love him. John Lithgow, haven't seen him in a while, but he's awesome. I usually like him, if not always. And then Stanley Tucci, I know he's mainly known for TV, I think. I haven't seen him in a lot. I know about him. I've seen him in commercials and trailers. I don't know the last time I've ever seen him in a movie, though. But whole cast was phenomenal.
Everybody was definitely pulling their own in this one. Definitely some interesting political intrigue unveiling over there.
Yeah, and some different opinions on Catholicism as well, obviously. So I have never been Catholic. Neither were you, but you went to Catholic school. So
8 years.
Yeah, so you were there. But we were also both raised Christian, so we are aware of...
We get the gist.
We're Catholic adjacent in a way.
Yeah.
And so, I was very intrigued by the different sects even within Catholicism and how they were combating, and it felt like not only was it a good commentary on religious and political warfare, but also I even turned to you at a certain point. I was well, now I know why they put it out right before the election, because it was commentary on that as well, it felt like. Because there's a point where they're debating should you vote for the guy that you think is genuinely the best, or do you think you should vote for the lesser of two evils that you think has a chance of winning? And as somebody who consistently votes third party and has never voted in anybody into office anywhere, I'm relatable. So, yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed the plot and the pacing of it, I had a moment, I don't know, 3/4 through the movie when I realized this movie is just 90% talking, but I don't care because I'm so invested in the talking and it's so rapid and so filled with intrigue that you can just have these people talk with the occasional movement around and stuff and still be wholly invested into everything that's happening. I will say I called about every plot twist before it happened. So that's one thing. I don't think that's normal, though. Nobody else there seemed to pick up on most of it.
I will say the exact reason for the last one caught me a little off guard.
I will also say I was only 90% correct. I was slightly off, but yes.
Yeah.
I count that as a passing grade.
I might as well.
But yeah, from the beginning on multiple things, I knew where I was going at the end, and some were more obvious than others, but I will say even with that, I was still thoroughly entertained. And like I said, most people there, we had a very small but vocal crowd, and they all seemed flabbergasted and blindsided by most of what was happening. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say most people will still be surprised by at least one or two of the twists.
I think a little bit, definitely. That elderly crowd we were with, definitely,
very vocal.
Definitely surprised.
Clapping.
It would be...
Yes!
It's just hilarious.
You tell them.
We had, a couple of, gasping, cheering people on the far side here. And then right behind us, one guy would snore. And then over here was the most into it guy in the whole theater. I swear, at one point in the film, everyone starts clapping for a reason I won't say right now. And he started clapping the entire time, the entire scene. It was quite epic. And
the guy's snoring too. It wasn't halfway through the movie. He started about 5 minutes in.
It was so immediate.
He was just and I'm out. I was like, all right. Guess he didn't want to be here. I don't know. This has been an interesting year for me with ranking the best movies of debating between best made movies versus most enjoyable movies. Not that The Substance is a poorly made movie. It's a wonderfully made movie. But comparing that to something like Sing Sing that felt more like an Oscar movie. And then here's this movie that not only is extremely up my alley and entertaining, not that I've ever really been into a whole lot of political thrillers, definitely not religious political thrillers before, but I was enraptured in it. Plus, it was maybe the best looking and feeling movie of the year. And honestly, the only one that comes close right now in my head is Sing Sing, and I thought this was better made than Sing Sing. So this feels like it's got Oscars written all over it, and I would be shocked if it doesn't get at least 3 nominations.
Oh, it's definitely gonna get some noms. Definitely stir a little bit of passive controversy with the Catholics.
Oh yeah, but who cares about pissing off Catholics?
Yeah, Christians. It's no one cares.
If it had been too polite and too nice, then it wasn't gonna get any Oscar recognition. You gotta piss off somebody, just not the Oscars.
Yeah, I definitely don't think I was into it as much as you were. I don't quite know why. Maybe it was because it had to do with Catholicism.
It just makes you tap out.
It was definitely very consistent, which is a hard thing to say for a lot of movies these days.
Yeah, that's kind of been the number one complaint we've probably had.
Because everything drops off in the third act, and
people don't know how to finish movies.
This didn't drop off in the third act. I just thought it's set up for the final. You know what? That's my one thing. I thought the setup for the final part was kind of just funnily out of nowhere. Now, I guess that's probably how it is in the book too.
I think it was alluded to earlier on in the movie, and then deliberately kind of makes you forget about it.
I want to hear what you was the alluding to it earlier, but
I can save that for spoilers. Yeah. I think everything that happened, which is why it was so predictable to me, there was a lot of foreshadowing for everything that happened, and sometimes it was foreshadowing 5 minutes before it happened, and other times it was an hour and a half before it happened. And so I think that's why I was I think the general population won't necessarily pick up on everything, because it's that's the thing that I love to do, is really nitpick those things, and most people don't. Yeah, no, that's fair. It's definitely a difference in review style. I miss all that stuff. But I think everything that happened had a warning sign that it was going to happen before it did. There was a couple different styles of foreshadowing, but I think it was definitely there to be picked up on.
I got the whole framing for their arguments. Like, I feel like their arguments and their positions were definitely set up previously.
Yeah.
I knew they would be on those sides.
Yeah.
I knew they would have those arguments. I just thought the action that was very, very dramatically affected them personally in that room.
Yeah.
Was kind of out of nowhere. and
I'll admit, I don't entirely know why I knew. I don't know why I knew. I'll talk more about it in spoilers, because I'm curious, actually, to unfold why I knew now. But, yeah, so without getting to spoilers, I'm satisfied giving it an 8. I struggle to give anything more than an 8 in a first thoughts, because it's like, really? Are you gonna? So I'm going to keep it at an 8 for now, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up to an 8.5. It's in that range for me. I really, really enjoyed it.
I'd be fine with a 7.5.
Okay.
I just didn't enjoy it as much as you did, but that's really the only complaints there.
Yeah, I think, and I may be reading into this too much, and if you disagree with me, let me know, but I would say any issue you had with it was more from a subjective thing than like you didn't have an objective issue with the movie, you just weren't as interested. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think it's something that I would recommend if that sounds up your alley, if you're into intrigue and
if you're Catholic. Good luck.
I think some Catholics would enjoy this movie a lot. I think it's not deliberately aimed at pissing off Catholics. I think there's different sects of Catholics, and certain sects will hate this movie and others will appreciate it a lot.
If you're not very liberal Catholic.
There you go. Yeah, no, but even within, I think it has a good discussion on the differences in opinions and trying to work beyond differences and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, I do recommend it to you if you like political thriller, intrigue, and religious commentary. I know that's kind of a little all over the place, but it was right up my alley. So
I gotta say, I first heard about this the other day, and seeing the trailer, hearing that it was, I think, based off a book.
Yeah.
And seeing that, I immediately thought I was kind of walking into what's that one trilogy? Tom Hanks.
The Da Vinci Code?
The Da Vinci Code, yeah.
Well, no.
Kind of. I don't know why I felt like I was going to be walking into a Da Vinci Code. I'm pleasantly surprised it was much more competent than that.
Yeah, and much more grounded in reality.
Yes. I did not know. I don't know.
This is just people talking about things. It's not National Treasure or anything like that. All right, well, yep, that's what we had to think. We are going to get into spoilers for a while now, so if you don't want anything spoiled, you should click away, go watch it first, and then come back so we can talk about it then. But yeah, just don't forget to like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye. So, spoilers. Yeah, so the various plot twists or whatever, you know, like I said, it starts very fundamental. Like, they're talking about the Pope has just died, and you've got all the bigwigs there talking about it, and John Lithgow mentions, like, oh yeah, I was the last one to meet with him. And I'm like, well, obviously something went on there. Yeah, that is suspicious, obviously. So, like, when it turned out that he was a bad guy of sorts, that's obvious. But then it got a little bit more harder to pick up and a little more harder to read stuff. Like, I don't know why, but like, so they're voting for these people, and you've got the three guys you think the race is between, which is John Lithgow, Stanley Tucci, and then the other guy that I don't know, the one that everybody hates. He's very fundamentalist. And then it turns out, oh wait, no, the main character, Rafe, has his hat thrown in the ring. People really want him, apparently. Well, 9 people voted for him or whatever.
He doesn't want it.
But he doesn't want it. And then the new guy, the Mexican guy that is, well, he's in Kabul, but he's Mexican originally, he's got 1 vote. And you're like, your first thought is, okay, he voted for himself, the weirdo. But then the second time they vote, he's got a second vote. And I knew right then, he's gonna win. Like, I don't know, like, why. I was just like, the subtlety of that is that this is just gonna keep growing and he's gonna end up winning. So then each of these guys keeps getting kicked out, or like there's a controversy here, controversy there, so they drop out. Well, not drop out, but they lose all their votes, and he just keeps getting a larger and larger and larger following until eventually he gives this like empowering speech and everybody's like, yeah, and I was like, yep, and he won. Cool. So that was painfully obvious to me. Saw that coming from a mile away. And then throughout the movie, they're trying to uncover different controversies. So when the guy first shows up, they're like, we don't think that he is actually a cardinal, because nobody knows who he is. And then they find out, oh, he was made a cardinal by the last pope in secret. There's this top secret way you can do it. And so, therefore, it was done for probably a controversial reason. We're not sure why, but they're like, I guess it's because he was working in Afghanistan and Kabul, and so it's just like
he's working in all these various like Muslim-based, war-torn countries in the various Middle East.
And so we don't want his identity getting out unnecessarily. And so it's like, okay, that's the reason they give, but like, I don't know if I buy that, and they don't know if they buy that either. So then they do a little bit of digging and find out that he has health-related issues. And they're like, well, how do you know he has health-related issues? Well, he went to this specialist doctor in a different country in Switzerland. What was he doing in Switzerland? Oh, nobody knows. And they ask him, and he's like, oh, I didn't end up going, or I didn't end up taking that ticket, or whatever. And then it's finally revealed that he had booked, but didn't end up going through with, a surgery to remove certain sexual organs, because it turned out that he was, what is the word, hermaphrodite? I don't know if that's the politically correct way.
Intersex.
But he's got both parts. And so he originally was like, all right, well, I just want to be fully man. I identify as a man, and I don't need these other parts. I've just been a man my whole life. Didn't even realize that I wasn't supposed to be like this.
Yeah.
But then he's like, well, no, I want to be how God made me to be, so why would I change anything? Like, he made me this way, so I'm going to stay this way. And so that's a big controversial moment. But once again, I was very close, because I thought he had a sex change. This is what I'm saying. I don't entirely know why. I just knew, like, okay, he had a controversial surgery somewhere. That's like the only option, right?
It makes sense for something that could be like controversial to the Catholics.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's controversial to a lot of people, not just Catholics.
But we're in a Catholic religious movie. Like, what other surgery could be that sort of thing?
They didn't specify surgery, but if you're going to Switzerland,
like nobody's gonna care about some random disease.
Yeah,
like,
unless it was AIDS, which you did.
Yeah, no,
say.
AIDS would be the only.
When you said AIDS, you actually made me second guess my original theory. I was like, maybe you're right. But then right after you said that, then they were like, nope. And I was like, okay, no, I was correct. Sort of, 90%. Like I said, I thought he was transitioning. He wasn't, but I was close. Had to do with gender-related surgery.
Yeah. Basically, any surgery or disease related to the LGBT.
Yeah.
That's basic. That's what it felt like it could.
So why did you feel like that came out of nowhere then? Because I felt like that definitely, or were you referring to something else? Because that was brought up like 2 different times. Like, it was definitely like kind of skimmed over, but it was said. There was controversy there.
Yeah, I guess I just glossed over it.
Yeah. Which they wanted you to. And that's why I was like, no. Because anytime, like, it's just like, it's a pretty basic, like, writing or directing, filmmaking technique where you say the line quickly and like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so don't think about it. I'm like, well, if you do that, I'm going to think about it. And it's the same thing with like, oh, I had the last meeting with him, but and I'm like, no, not you had the last meeting with him, motherfucker. Something happened. And they didn't confirm or deny anything, and so I guess he did just die naturally, but I also suspected that he had something to do with him dying, and that never got said, so.
Yeah, they kind of set it up at the beginning, like, oh, how did the Pope really die? And then they just kind of dropped out to, oh, every candidate has their own scandals.
Yeah, you could see everything happen.
Oh, no, it makes sense. Like, I definitely should have heard surgery and thought about the controversial stuff.
What could it be? Yeah, just narrow it down.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it much until the very end, and then thought, AIDS.
Yeah, which I guess, so that would really piss off certain Catholics, because the Pope has to be a man and all that, and it's like, does he qualify as a man? I'm like, but he literally is, though.
The intersex Pope?
Yeah, and so, like, I guess that would annoy some people, but I'm like, but why? I don't know.
Catholicism is pretty ritualistic, strict.
I get it, but I really liked the movie. I liked the messaging of it. I mean, not that I agreed with everything they said, because there's some things when you get into the weeds of religion that you're like, no. But Yeah, I know. I enjoyed what it was going for. I enjoyed the execution of it a lot. I mean, it's also kind of told from the perspective of a guy, the main character is having a crisis of faith. So the movie isn't outright religious. It's about the politics of religion anyway. It's not confirming anything as right or wrong the entire time. So it's almost from the perspective of like, you don't even know if God's real or not in this universe, in this movie. They don't specify. People are acting as if he is.
I mean, they don't specify whether God's real or not, but they definitely show some sides of this religion to be. They definitely show the conservative sides of this religion to be the wrong sides, and the liberal, progressive sides that don't really exist a whole lot, that they seem to want to exist in the religion as the good side of this.
Right, and then, there's
everything the main characters stand for and the eventual pope stand for is all seemingly right in the eyes of this director or writer or whatever.
Sure, and I get that, and you don't have to agree with everything that they stand for, which is, part of what they're talking about is like, choosing who you really believe versus trying to just get the best option, because no matter who you pick, there's always going to be skeletons in the closets. You're not going to agree with everybody about everything. Like the one guy that they almost vote in, he had a kid. Well, not even a kid. He had a 30-year-old. So, like, there's controversy there and stuff.
Yeah, definitely feel like there's a couple of times in this movie where I stopped hearing what was on screen, trying to focus on the guy behind us, hear his reactions. That was pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
I have not heard someone so that vocal, but so not totally annoying, but perfectly in sync with the movie.
Yeah, there was like the two main characters, I guess, to an extent, are Rafe and then Stanley Tucci, and so they're having these discussions, and one is like, chastising the other one or whatever, like calling out the other one, and it's like, no, you need to check your heart, or you need to examine your own heart, and the guy's like, yes, yeah, behind us, and then later, then he's like, I was wrong. I told you that you needed to do this, and really I should have been doing it. Like, yes. Okay. They start talking about the surgery thing, and I think loud enough that the people around us heard. I go, oh, he's transgender, and like, I felt the air get sucked out of the room right after I said that. And then it gets revealed. And the guy behind him goes, what? And it was like his day was ruined.
There was a couple of gasps in there like, oh, what? You went this route?
And then by the end of that scene, I feel like he had accepted it, but it was not easy for him. He was really working on it. He was really working through that.
This movie was an entire journey for that guy. Just wish I could have experienced the movie like he did.
Through his eyes.
Yeah.
Oh man, he had an emotional journey. It's also funny too because they use the really technical term, so I'm like, I'm not entirely sure what you just said. I can kind of put together what I think you meant, and then base my reaction off of the reaction of the characters in the movie, because I didn't entirely know.
They said something. All I heard was hysterectomy, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
uterus.
Yeah, and so I was like, what exactly did they do? He never outright said exactly what it was, but it's inferred like you would in a normal conversation where it's like, yeah, I had extra parts and I was going to get rid of them, and then I didn't.
Yeah, I was just like, I never saw myself as any different from any of the guys, and apparently no one else ever would have seen.
And
so I guess there's
first appendix and had to go for surgery.
Yeah, so I guess they have no female presenting parts on the outside. It's just they have a uterus and ovaries.
Yeah, which I do wonder about that. Not that this is necessarily the place to talk about it, but if you have a uterus, how do you deal with the shedding? Where does that go?
No.
If you don't have a vagina, how do you get rid of the shedding?
You just fuck else?
Absorb the tissue?
Does it just
sounds extremely unhealthy.
Does it just not function the same way at all?
I would assume, my best guess is he doesn't have enough hormones to properly have a properly functioning uterus anyway, so it's probably dormant, would be my best guess. Anyway, but like I said, this isn't really the best platform. We're very uneducated. Don't ask us anything.
The terrorist attack right outside the church, that blew a window open so we could get a ray of light down on the altar, and then have that there for like slight distractions and for something to reflect on the guy's speech while they're giving their votes to clearly.
Did you think that was a metaphor for the glass ceiling being broken? Which I know glass ceilings are typically in reference to women, but it was still like we've got this person of color becoming a pope, and so it kind of felt
I did
comparable.
not, but I can see where you're coming.
I wasn't sure if they were saying that or not, but that was my thought.
No, I can see that.
Because you couldn't have a literal glass ceiling in there, because it's just, they don't. Like, it's a real building. They're not making up a building, although they weren't actually filming the real one. They were pretending to.
No, but hey, you get glass, you get stained glass right up close to that ceiling.
Yeah.
That's pretty close.
Very close. Also, I did think it was interesting, because if there was at any point where you could say maybe God was real in this movie, that was the when that happened was the one and only time that Ralph Fiennes' character voted for somebody he didn't believe was genuinely the best choice.
Yeah.
And so then God was like, no!
Just knock him straight down.
Because
put the
like
light on.
they go up and they like swear before God that I'm voting based on, I forget the exact words, but it's like, this is who I believe is the right choice, and I'm doing this because I believe is the right choice before God, or whatever.
Yeah.
They say something to that effect. And so he had been voting for this other guy, Stanley Tucci, the whole time, and then they convince him to vote for himself, and when he votes for himself, that's when that happens. And then they don't show who he votes for, but you assume that he then voted for the Mexican guy after that.
Yeah, I assume basically everybody does, because they never go over like his results.
Yeah, you
So
hear muffled in the background them say his name a couple times, you hear the other guy's name like once, but they only say it like 3 times and you can barely hear it.
Yeah, I just assume it's a basically majority landslide victory.
Yeah, at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we said everything there is to say. It's a really good movie. A little bit of controversy, like it will piss some people off, but like,
Yeah, if you're deeply conservative religious,
it shouldn't be a message that pisses anybody off, but it will.
you make the Pope a intersex person. That's gonna piss off the
They
conservative.
didn't make the
Christians,
smoke pink
Catholics.
though. I wanted the smoke pink.
No, that
pink.
would have been incredible.
Or rainbow
Yes,
somehow. I don't know how you could have done that, but I would have loved it. Or whatever
we just set up some free.
What is the transgender flag? Or non-binary. What's the non-binary flag? Well, no, he does identify as a man, so what's the man flag? I don't think they have one.
We just put that symbol up in the air, so signal it out.
We're just America. Stars and stripes. Anyway, no, this has devolved. I liked it a lot. I recommend it. If it pisses you off, I'm sorry. But not really. Watch it or don't. Justin?
Yes, no, definitely watch it.
That's what we think. We're going to end it there.
Crusades.
Let me know what you thought in the comments below, unless you're going to say something mean or evil. Then don't comment that. Thanks. Bye.